It started with the smell of vanilla. Not the cozy kind from a candle or a cake in the oven. This was sharper, synthetic, and wrong. A faint trace of it clung to the passenger seat of our Honda when I got in one morning to grab my laptop. She'd used the car the night before, said she had a late client dinner across town. But this scent wasn't hers. Not her usual perfume. This was different. Younger. Artificial. And just like that, the first domino tipped. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I'm not a jealous man. Or at least I wasn't. I told myself it could have been anything. Rideshare? New air freshener? Hell, maybe she just tried something new. But 2 nights later, I noticed her wedding ring was gone. I didn't point it out. I just stared at her hand while she chopped tomatoes in the kitchen, pretending to listen to her story about some spreadsheet issue at work. Her bare finger gleamed under the fluorescent light like it was mocking me. The ring reappeared the next day. Sparkling. Cleaned. Like it had been scrubbed of something. Still, I said nothing. Because silence is a warm place to hide when you're scared of the truth. The turning point came on a rainy Thursday. I was supposed to be out of town, some useless team-building retreat that got canceled last minute. Instead of telling her I was coming home, I thought I'd surprise her. Maybe we'd order Thai, binge a show, reconnect. That was the plan. What happened instead was this. I pulled into the driveway around 6:30 p.m. Lights were on. Music inside. Not loud, but enough to hear the bass humming through the door. I let myself in as quietly as possible. Habit, I guess. That's when I heard laughter. Deep. Male. Followed by a noise I can't describe. A stifled gasp? A groan? And then, oh yes, you're amazing. Everything in me froze. Not from fear, no. From certainty. I didn't barge in. Not yet. I walked back out, sat in my car, and let that sentence burn itself into my memory. I don't know how long I sat there. 10 minutes? An hour? Long enough to feel like my bones had turned to concrete. She didn't know I was home. That was the power I had now. I waited until the music stopped, until I saw a man, tall, lean, stupidly confident, leave through the side gate. He didn't even glance toward the street. Didn't have to. The front door opened a few minutes later. She stepped out in a hoodie. No makeup. Hair tied up. Playing the role of the innocent wife so well it could have won her a damn award. I drove away without saying a word. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and played every interaction we'd had over the last 3 months like footage in an editing bay. Things started clicking together. The night she said she'd lost her phone for hours. The random dog hair on her coat even though we don't own a dog. The sudden interest in spin classes. I saw it all and it made sense in the worst possible way. The next day, I didn't go to work. I packed a duffel bag, came home at noon, and started pulling my stuff from the closet. That's when it happened. She walked in, saw me, and said, "What are you doing?" I didn't even turn around. I zipped the bag, straightened up, and said calmly, "I came home early yesterday and saw some guy getting way too close to you, and based on your loud, 'Oh yes, you're amazing,' I figured you'd moved on. So go ahead, enjoy your happiness. I'm out." She froze. Actually froze. Her lips parted but no sound came out. Her face drained of color like a candle burning too fast. I looked her dead in the eye and added, "Goodbye, 304. No yelling. No slammed doors. Just the sound of my footsteps down the hall, a zipper closing, and the beginning of the end. That was just the first cut. And you won't believe what happened next. I didn't go far. Just 2 blocks down to a cheap motel that smelled like mildew and forgotten road trips. I didn't need luxury, I needed space. Space from her, from the house, from the memories that suddenly felt like a con job. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone like it was a bomb. No calls. No texts. Nothing. At 9:42 p.m. she broke the silence. "One word, please." That's it. Not "I'm sorry," not "Can we talk," just "please." Like she was the victim. Like I had walked in and ruined her fun. I didn't reply. 15 minutes later, a new text. "I know how this looks. Just talk to me. Let's not throw everything away." I threw the phone onto the nightstand and walked into the bathroom. Stared at myself in the mirror. I looked like someone who'd just been run over in slow motion. Not angry. Not broken. Just stripped. All the color gone from my eyes. The third message hit different. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just got out of control. I was lonely. That one made me laugh. Not out loud, but the kind of sharp exhale you do when something's too ridiculous to cry over. Lonely? She had my whole damn heart, my time, my loyalty. I worked overtime so she didn't have to. Took her parents to dinner when she didn't feel like dealing with them. Picked up her dry cleaning. Remembered her coworker's cat's name. Lonely, she says. I didn't sleep that night either. Instead, I opened a blank note on my phone and started writing everything I remembered from the past few weeks. Every excuse she gave, every strange mood, every lie that now sounded like it had been wrapped in glitter and handed to me with a smile. I realized I'd been studying a different language all along. A language where girls' night meant Jason and I'm just tired meant I feel guilty. The next morning I went back. Not to forgive. To collect the last of my things and hear her say it to my face. She was waiting on the porch when I pulled up. No makeup again, but not the innocent act this time. Her face was stiff, tense. Like she knew the walls were closing in. She didn't say anything as I walked past her. Just followed me inside. I started pulling clothes from the dresser. She finally broke the silence. It wasn't what you think. I turned to her. Really? Because what I think is you had some guy in our bed and screamed his name loud enough to wake the neighbors. Her eyes flicked to the floor. That tiny, guilty twitch told me everything. You don't understand, she said, stepping closer. I didn't want to, he made me feel like someone again. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I didn't recognize this woman anymore. There was a venom in her tone, a blame-shifting sharpness I'd never seen before. Someone. I echoed. You needed to feel like someone, so you dragged a stranger into our home and let him make you forget who you really are? She snapped then. Don't pretend like you've been some perfect husband. You've been distant. Always at work. Always tired. Maybe if you'd actually paid attention. I raised a hand not to her, but to cut through the noise. No. Don't turn this into my fault. You lied. You betrayed. You let someone else into our home, into our life. Own that. She bit her lip, and for a second I saw a flicker of regret. Or maybe just fear. Of losing the house, the routine, the image. You're really leaving? She whispered. I already left, I said, slinging the duffel over my shoulder. Now I'm just taking the last pieces of myself with me. As I turned to go, she called after me one last attempt. It didn't mean anything. I paused in the doorway. Looked back at her once, cold and steady. Then you threw away everything we had for nothing. I shut the door behind me. And the silence that followed? It was the most peaceful sound I'd heard in years. By the third day, something shifted. Not in her, she was still stuck in her own web, trying to tug at strings like I was one of them. No, the shift was in me. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was angry. Not the screaming, plate-smashing kind. Something colder. More surgical. Anger that makes you see with frightening clarity. I stopped reacting. Stopped reading her texts. Stopped wondering why. I started digging instead. I called in sick from work again and drove to her office. Not to see her. I stayed across the street, parked by a trashy cafe, and watched. Watched her laugh with coworkers, hand someone a folder, pretend like she hadn't just detonated a life. That's when I saw him. Same guy from before. The one who left our backyard like it was his. Tall. Sharp suit. Sleeves rolled. He walked out with 2 coffees, handed her one, and leaned a little too close. She laughed, God, the same laugh she used with me when we were new. I stared at them like a stranger watching a play he used to star in. They didn't touch, but they did not touch either. That kind of subtle magnetism you only get when someone's already tasted you. I took a picture. Not to send to her. I didn't need her reactions anymore. I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy, dramatic, overthinking. I wasn't any of the things she tried to gaslight me into believing over the past month. The next twist came that night. I was back at the motel, flipping through TV channels like they meant something when I got a knock on the door. My stomach flipped. No one knew I was here except her. I opened the door and froze. It wasn't her. It was her sister. Hi, she said, eyes red, holding a bottle of wine like it was a peace offering. I let her in without a word. She sat down on the edge of the bed, opened the bottle herself, poured into 2 plastic motel cups, handed me one. She told me what happened, she said finally. Sort of. I repeated. She nodded. Said you misunderstood. Said you're unraveling. She actually used that word. Unraveling. I let out a breath. That's rich. She's lying, isn't she? I didn't answer. Just pulled out my phone, opened the photo I'd taken earlier, and slid it across the bed to her. She stared at the screen. Quiet. Then whispered, oh my God, that's Jason. I didn't move. Thought so. She rubbed her eyes. I knew something was off. She's been different. Cold. Like she's holding in a secret but thinks it makes her powerful. There it was. The truth from someone who wasn't me. Then she added something that made the blood in my chest go still. She's not just cheating. She's planning something. Something big. I looked at her sharply. What do you mean? She called me last week. Asked if I knew how to find a good divorce lawyer. Said she might need one soon, but that you couldn't know yet. That sentence tore through me like shrapnel. She wasn't just screwing around, she was setting me up. Before I could speak, her sister whispered, Brad? I think she's going to try to flip this. Make you look like the villain. She's already rewriting the story. I stared at the cup in my hand, untouched. The same woman who cried at our wedding. The one who called me her best friend. She wasn't just betraying me emotionally or physically, she was dismantling me from the inside out. And for what? A thrill? Control? Reinvention? I looked up and for the first time I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to fight her in the dark. I was going to drag this whole thing into the light, every lie, every manipulation, every hidden move. She wanted a war? She was about to get one. I didn't sleep that night either, but it wasn't insomnia this time. It was strategy. Cold, relentless, surgical. If she wanted to twist this into a divorce that painted me as the unstable one, she was going to have to work harder. I wasn't going to roll over and be the fool she counted on me to be. No. I was done reacting. It was time to maneuver. The first call I made the next morning was to a lawyer, not just any lawyer, but one I'd heard about from a friend during his own brutal split. Guy named Carson. Mid-40s, sharp as hell, looked like he'd bite the head off a shark in court. I laid it out for him, raw and fast. The cheating. The lies. The setup. When I told him about the picture, he paused. That helps. But we need more. What kind of more? I asked. Patterns. Logs. Voice. Messages. Anything that proves this wasn't a one-time mistake, and more importantly, anything that proves intent. If she's trying to bait you into a reaction, we need to make sure you don't give her one. That's when the true game began. I started documenting. Everything. Calls, texts, screenshots. I even placed a small camera in the corner of the hallway at home, angled just right. She didn't know I still had the house key. She didn't know I could let myself in when she was at work. And she didn't know I could still read her calendar. Which is how I knew exactly when he'd be back. Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., marked Pilates, do not call. She wasn't doing Pilates. And now I had proof of that too. I didn't walk in on them. Not this time. I waited until they were done. Until he left again through the side gate like some secret boyfriend in a bad soap opera. Then I walked in. Just like before. She was sitting on the couch, TV on, pretending like her evening had been peaceful and solo. She turned, startled. What are you doing here? Her voice was already sharp, defensive. Not scared, just annoyed. She thought she was in control. It was adorable. I looked at her calmly. Just stopping by. Needed to grab some papers. Hope that's okay with your Pilates instructor. She blinked. Flinched slightly. What are you talking about? You're not even trying anymore, I said. You used the same excuse you did 2 weeks ago. Same time slot. Same lie. She stood up, arms crossed. You can't just barge in here like this. We're separated. Yeah, we are. And while you're busy entertaining guests in the home we both still legally own, I'm building a timeline that a judge is going to love. That got her. Her jaw twitched. I saw the flicker of calculation in her eyes. You're insane. Not insane, I said. Prepared. I dropped a folder on the coffee table. Inside, time-stamped photos, screenshots of her messages to Jason from the shared cloud backup she forgot I had access to, and a printed copy of the voice memo her sister helped me record when she confessed to knowing about the affair weeks ago. She stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. I don't want this to get ugly, I said, keeping my voice level. But if you try to make me the villain, if you even think about twisting the narrative, this goes to my lawyer, your boss, and the HR department at your company. Because as of this morning, I also found out that Jason is technically your subordinate. Her face drained of all color. You wouldn't, she whispered. Try me, I said, already heading for the door. Her voice cracked as I opened it. You're really doing this? I turned back one last time. No, Amanda. You did this. I'm just finally responding like someone who sees things clearly. And for the first time, I saw fear behind her eyes. Real, genuine fear, not of me, but of consequences. She wanted a war? She didn't realize I'd stopped playing fair. What comes next will flip everything. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Like the air before a tornado touches down. I kept expecting her to retaliate, to lash out, to show up screaming at the motel. But nothing. Not a word. Not a call. Not even a sarcastic text. For a moment, I thought maybe she was regrouping. Or maybe she was finally stunned into silence. Either way, I stayed one step ahead. But I wasn't the only one moving behind the scenes. On Thursday afternoon, I got a call. Unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. Is this Brad? Yes. This is Melanie. I work with your wife. The pause before your wife told me everything I needed to know. She continued. I'm not supposed to be calling you. She told us all that you were unstable. That you were stalking her. But I don't know. Something felt off. My grip on the phone tightened. She said you were showing up at her work, trying to cause problems, Melanie went on. But then today, she was crying in the break room and Jason came in. He didn't even ask if she was okay. Just handed her a folder and walked out. She looked broken, but not sad. Just cornered. I didn't respond. There's more, she added. A few of us have seen things. Heard things. You're not crazy, Brad. People are starting to talk. About them. That sentence hit like ice water. People were talking. Not just gossip, evidence was building. Witnesses. Perspective. The fortress she built on charm and manipulation was beginning to crumble from within. I thanked her and hung up. Then, right on cue, came the explosion. That evening, as I returned to the motel, my phone lit up with a string of messages from her. You're turning people against me? You're harassing my coworkers now? You've gone too far. This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer. I didn't reply. I just forwarded every message to Carson. He called me 10 minutes later, laughing. She's spiraling. Keep doing nothing. Let her panic. It's working. That night, I got my first taste of real relief. Not joy, no, that was long gone, but a sense that maybe justice wasn't just some fairy tale you tell kids so they sleep better. Maybe it was a slow, deliberate thing that just needed precision. But then came the real twist. The next morning, a package arrived at the motel front desk for me. No return address. I opened it in the room and found a flash drive taped to a torn piece of paper. You need to hear this. No signature. No clue who sent it. I plugged it into my laptop, half expecting a virus or a blank screen. Instead, I heard a recording. Her voice, clear as day, talking on the phone. She was laughing. Then, if he finds out, I'll just flip it. Say he hit me. You know how that works. The system always leans toward the crying wife. He's too proud to fight dirty. My stomach dropped. The rage that boiled up wasn't hot, it was surgical, electric, cold. She was preparing to burn me down with a lie. I called Carson again, sent him the file. He was silent for a moment. Then, we just won your case? I don't know who sent that recording. A friend? Her sister again? Someone at work? It didn't matter. The tide had turned. Now she wasn't just a liar. She was a danger. And she had no idea what was about to hit her next. I woke up the next morning not with dread, but clarity. That recording, the way she said it so casually, like accusing me of something life-ruining, was just another tool in her kit. Lit something up inside me I didn't know I had left. Not rage. That came earlier. This was colder. Focused. Surgical. She was going to play the victim. She was going to weaponize her tears, her gender, her charm, and every inch of the system she thought would bend to her. She'd been laying the groundwork behind the scenes, smearing my name, painting herself as the loyal wife worn down by a paranoid husband. Maybe she even believed it. That's the scariest part. So I made my move. I didn't call her. I didn't show up. I went to the police. I sat down with a detective and told him everything. About the affair. The attempted manipulation. The threats. The recording. I wasn't asking them to arrest her, I was documenting. Creating an official timeline. Filing a report. The detective, a lean, gray-eyed guy with more lines on his face than a roadmap, leaned back in his chair as he listened to the audio. You said this was your wife? Not for long, I said. He nodded slowly, paused the recording, and said, I've heard lies. I've heard setups. But this? This is calculated. And ugly. He gave me his card, stamped the report, and told me to keep everything. Digital and physical. If she tries anything, you're not the one who'll be on the back foot. And just like that, the power shifted. I wasn't the hunted anymore. That night, I received a voicemail from her mother. Her mother. I don't know what's going on between you two, the voice trembled, but Amanda's not herself. She's angry all the time. Paranoid. She said you were threatening her, but Brad, that doesn't sound like you. Even her own mother was beginning to crack through the story. But what came next? That wasn't expected. That wasn't planned. It was a knock at my motel door. Again. Not her. Not her sister. Not anyone I recognized. It was Jason. Wiry. Nervous. Sweating through his expensive button-down. You got a second? He asked. I didn't speak. Just let him in. He paced the room like a dog trying to escape its own mess. Then he turned and said, she told me you knew. That you were coming after me. I didn't know it was this bad. I stared at him. You didn't know you were sleeping with a married woman? He blinked. No. I mean, yes. I knew. But she said it was over. She said she'd filed for divorce. She said you were dangerous. That last word stung. Not because it was true, but because it was so clearly rehearsed. She told me she was scared of you, he said. Said you'd snap. That I should protect her. But then last week, she snapped at me. She said if I told anyone about us, she'd ruin me. HR, harassment, the whole 9 yards. There it was. She wasn't just a liar. She was a fire breather. And Jason? He just realized he was Tinder. I handed him a glass of water and said nothing for a while. Then I asked, do you want out? He nodded. Then give me a statement. Write everything she told you. The dates. The threats. The manipulation. You're not the victim here, but if you're willing to come clean, you can help end this the right way. He hesitated. What happens if she finds out? She will, I said. But by then, we'll be ahead. He left an hour later, shaken but lighter. And with him, he left a printed, signed statement. 2 pages. Every lie. Every game. Every word she thought was hidden behind bedroom walls. And tomorrow? That goes to my lawyer. To HR. To her mother. to every place she thought she could spin this story into silk. She lit the fire. Now she's standing in the smoke and I haven't even started blowing. I didn't sleep that night, but not out of anxiety. It was something else. Something electric. Like standing in the eye of a storm you didn't start but somehow learned to control. Jason's written statement sat folded in my jacket pocket. That same pocket used to hold my vows. My wedding ring. Now it held evidence. A confession. And the sharp, final blade of clarity. At 7:12 a.m. I forwarded the document to Carson. Subject line, time to corner her. His reply came less than 3 minutes later. Let's bury her lies in paperwork. I love lawyers when they talk like soldiers. By 9 a.m., a copy of the signed statement, the audio recording, and an official letter of legal notice were sitting in 3 inboxes, hers, her company's HR department, and her mother's email, because no one cuts through a manipulator like the parent they've been lying to for years. By noon, the first crack appeared. She called me. I let it ring out. Then came the message. Brad, what is this? What the hell are you doing? You can't drag my job into this. You've lost your mind. You think this proves something? You think you're some hero now? This isn't justice, it's obsession. I played it 3 times. Not because of her words but her voice. It was shaking. Not angry. Panicked. Like she just realized the shadows she lived in now had floodlights. Then came the text. You crossed a line. So I sent one back. You built the line. I just lit it up. She didn't reply. But her boss did. At 3:47 p.m. Carson forwarded me an email from her company's HR director. Very formal. Very corporate. Very damaging. They had opened an internal investigation. Into her relationship with Jason. Into unprofessional conduct. Into the report that I had submitted with dates, receipts, and a signed statement from the guy she said she was just mentoring. Her job? Hanging by a thread. And then the most surreal moment of all. That evening, while I was sitting in the motel parking lot finishing a coffee, a car pulled up. Her car. She stepped out. Alone. No makeup. No mask. She walked straight up to me, arms folded tight over her chest. Why are you doing this? She asked. I looked at her like I was seeing a stranger for the last time. You asked that the day I caught you cheating. Remember? Her eyes darted away. I didn't mean for it to get like this. You meant enough, I said. You meant to lie. You meant to gaslight. You meant to call me dangerous, unstable, violent if you had to. You meant to erase me. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then said something so brazen I almost laughed. You're blowing this out of proportion. We were just figuring things out. I stepped closer. Calm. Clear. You figured it out, all right? You figured out how to weaponize your guilt and play victim. You figured out how to use people. Your sister. Your boyfriend. Me. But the one thing you didn't figure out was how to shut your mouth when you should've. Her lips trembled. You recorded me. No, I said. You recorded yourself. You just forgot who you were talking to. Her breath hitched. She looked like a building that just realized the fire alarms weren't broken, they'd just been disconnected. Then I said the one thing I hadn't said yet. The one word I'd saved for when the war turned. Lawyers. She flinched. We're filing tomorrow. Divorce. With a full evidence packet. You'll be hearing from HR. And if you so much as try to twist this again, I go public. With everything. You think your friends will stand by you when they hear you planning to fake abuse? You think Jason will take the fall with you? Her mouth opened but no words came. Then she turned. Silent. Got in her car. And drove off. This time I didn't feel anything. Because she wasn't driving away from me. She was running from herself. By the time the divorce papers were officially filed the next morning, it was already too late for her to save face. The damage was moving faster than her denial. Carson submitted the full evidence package alongside the petition, Jason's statement, the voice recording, a printed list of every call, text, and lie. Everything timestamped. Verified. Lethal. What I didn't expect was how quickly it all unraveled for her. By noon, I got a call from Melanie again, the coworker who'd tipped me off earlier. She's gone, she said. HR suspended her this morning. Said it was pending investigation, but everyone knows. Jason didn't show up either. Words out. I sat on the motel bed, letting that sink in. Not joy. Not revenge. Just cold, clean resolution. The perfect facade she'd curated, her boss babe image, her flawless work ethic, her I just want peace, Instagram captions, it all crumbled in less than 24 hours. That's what happens when you build your house out of lies and light a match in every room. Later that day, Carson forwarded me another email, this one from her lawyer. It was short. Client is willing to negotiate. No contest on divorce terms. Requests confidentiality. Translation, she wants out fast and doesn't want her name dragged through mud she spilled herself. I didn't respond right away. I let her sit in it. That evening, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered, expecting another voice from her orbit. It was Jason. Brad, he said, voice low, shaken. I don't know who she is anymore. She told HR I blackmailed her. Said I pressured her into everything. There it was. Her final move, turn on the last pawn she had left. She told me she'd protect me, he added, voice breaking. Then she hung me out to dry the moment they started asking questions. I didn't even feel bad for him. He played the game. He lost. But I did something I never thought I'd do. I told him the truth. She was never going to protect you, I said. She's not built for loyalty. She's built for survival. And that means you were never anything but leverage. He was quiet for a while. Then, I wish I'd seen it sooner. You and me both. But the real twist came an hour later. Not a call. Not a message. A knock. At the motel door. Again. I opened it expecting another ghost. It was her mother. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Hair disheveled, eyes red, voice raw. Brad, she said, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest. I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside to let her in. She sat down on the edge of the bed holding something in her lap. It was a photo album. Our family, she said. Birthdays. Holidays. Your wedding. She flipped it open. One picture stood out, me laughing with Amanda's dad at our engagement party. A moment I'd forgotten. I raised her to be strong, she said. To speak up. To fight for what she wants. But I didn't teach her how to tell the truth when the truth made her feel small. She looked up at me. Did she lie to me, Brad? About you? About what really happened? I met her gaze. Yes. And she didn't just lie. She planned it. She tried to destroy me before I could tell anyone. Her mother closed the album. Quiet. Then stood. I believe you. She left without another word. And in that moment I realized I wasn't just watching her world collapse anymore, I was watching the one person she never thought would turn on her walk away. She burned every bridge. And I never had to lift a torch. The morning after her mother came to the motel, I woke up different. Not hopeful. Not healed. But clean. Like someone had finally scraped the rot off me after months of walking around with something dying inside. There were no messages. No calls. No last-ditch cries for pity. Just silence. And for the first time in forever, I liked it. Carson called mid-morning. His voice was sharper than usual, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. She's folded, he said. We've got full custody of the house, no spousal support, clean division of assets. She won't contest anything. She's trying to disappear. I didn't laugh. I didn't even smile. I just exhaled. One deep breath that felt like it had been waiting months to leave my chest. Want to sign it in person or digitally? He asked. In person, I said. I want to feel the pen cut the tie. And I did. I went to the office that afternoon. Signed every document with a calmness I didn't think was possible. Her signature was already there, rushed, jagged, desperate. Mine was steady. I walked out of that room with no ring, no weight, and no war left to fight. But that wasn't the end. That night, I went back to the house. Not to move back in. Just to see it. To feel it. It was empty. Still. Like the building itself was trying to forget what had happened inside it. I walked through the rooms quietly, stopping in the kitchen. That same counter where she used to sit barefoot, sipping coffee, talking about nonsense. Gone. The energy, the lie, the performance gone. On the fridge, a single photo was left behind. Us in Hawaii. Smiling under a waterfall. I stared at it for a moment, then slowly tore it in half. Not out of spite, but to make space. And then came the unexpected. As I stepped outside to leave, headlights swept across the driveway. I braced myself, but it wasn't her. It was her sister. She got out slowly, holding a small cardboard box. I didn't know where else to take this, she said quietly. She left it at Mom's. Said it was junk from the past. But I thought you might want it. I took the box. Opened it. Inside, letters. Cards. Notes. Our old honeymoon itinerary. A pressed flower from our first anniversary. All of it stuffed in like garbage. I'm sorry, she said. For what she did. For not saying something sooner. I nodded. You don't owe me anything. No, she said. But you deserve better. And I think you're finally going to get it. She drove off. I stood there in the dark, holding that box, realizing it wasn't a reminder of what I lost, it was a memorial for what died. And I was done grieving. As I got back in the car, I didn't look back at the house. Not once. Because I wasn't just leaving a place. I was leaving her. And I wasn't broken anymore. I was done. 6 months later. I live in a different place now. Small apartment. Nothing flashy. But it's mine. Every picture on the wall, every spoon in the drawer, every quiet breath I take in the morning, it all belongs to me. No pretending. No hidden rules. No double meanings under fake smiles. Just air and truth and peace. She signed the final documents without a word. No calls. No courtroom drama. Just an empty signature from an empty person trying to vanish behind the smoke she lit herself. Last I heard, she left the city. Quit her job before they could fire her. Jason? Fired. Her company cleaned house. HR wanted no part of the scandal. She tried to pin everything on him, but her voice recording made sure that plan died fast. Her sister and I talk sometimes. Not much. Not about her. But there's something quiet and real there, two people who watched the same person burn bridges from both ends and tried to survive the heat. As for her mom, she sent me a letter. A real one. Handwritten. Said she was sorry. Said she hoped I found someone who didn't make love a battlefield. I haven't replied yet. But I might. There are still moments. Don't get me wrong. I'll be driving and a song comes on, one she used to hum in the kitchen, and my stomach will twist before my brain catches up. Or I'll see a hoodie that looks like one she wore on lazy Sundays, and I'll remember the way she looked at me then, before the mask cracked. Before the lies started dripping through. But those moments don't ruin me anymore. Because I survived her. And that means I can survive anything. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes the person who swears they'd die before hurting you is the one holding the sharpest knife. Sometimes love isn't loyalty, it's leverage. Sometimes the betrayal isn't in the act, but in the ease with which they do it. And if they can do it once, they can do it again. But also truth wins. It takes time. It takes strategy. It takes patience and self-control and refusing to sink to their level when they beg you to. But it wins. Because truth doesn't flinch. It doesn't panic. It just waits. So to anyone reading this, going through the quiet hell of being betrayed by someone you built your world around, don't try to destroy them. Expose them. Then walk away. Let the silence do what screaming never could. Because when I walked in and started packing, my cheating wife shouted, "What are you doing?" I calmly replied, "I came home early yesterday and saw some guy getting way too close to you, and based on your loud, 'Oh yes, you're amazing,' I figured you'd moved on. So go ahead, enjoy your happiness. I'm out." She froze, pale and shocked, but I simply said, "Goodbye, 304. And I meant it. All of it. That was the last time I looked back.